what's up, geeks? Darron Brown here, and in this video we're going to talk about web development versus mobile development. Now, you already know I work as a mobile developer. That's my bread and butter. But before I actually got into mobile development, I did work with on web development. Web development was something that basically helped me get comfortable within the mobile sphere of things. I built applications with React on the web. I built applications with Angular, which sucks in my opinion on the web, and I built applications with PHP. Now I want to just briefly give you guys, tell my experience on that. Hopefully you can get something about that, and then I can go into mobile development. Now first I'm going to discuss the web. Now as I stated, I touched base on, I worked with React, I worked with Angular, and I worked with PHP. Now, the pros of working on the web is that there's a lot of support on the web. The web has been around a lot longer, and because of that, there's a lot of there's just a lot more support. Now there's a lot of tools that are used on the web. It's pretty promised that it's going to work. And that's because the web just doesn't update as much as the mobile world does. And on top of that, it's easier to get into. If you don't have, let's say, if you don't have a MacBook, because if you're going to build a mobile app, you need to have a MacBook. And you need to, because you need to be able to deploy that application to the Apple Store, you need to be able to deploy that application to Google Play. But if you're working on the web, you can build the application on pretty much any kind of device that you need. And then you get instant feedback. Like when you're building something with HTML or CSS, you can put the codes together and you can actually see how that code has impacted your application immediately. That's the biggest pro to being on the web, and that's really what helped making software development a lot easier for me. Web was the first tool that I used to actually help me get comfortable in the software engineering field. Now I started off with JavaScript, HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and then I moved from there. I went from HTML to CSS to PHP. Now JavaScript is it's a language that is made for basically making the front end more dynamic. It creates all those animations. It makes it a little bit more user experience. It enhances the user experience. Now, PHP is actually a server-side language. And this was actually cool using PHP because PHP, when you're using PHP, you can use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP. Now, the thing with PHP is that it works as a query language, meaning that you can actually connect your application to the database. You get a clear flow to see how your database is updated and how it also updates the front end of your application. Now, the way that I did this with MySQL. I think it was MAP. Yeah, that's what it was. You have MAP and you have WAMP. And I advise you guys, if you haven't done any kind of web development, to look that up. Now, I did MAP and WAMP, and when I got into this was completely new to me. But what that did is it helped me learn how to actually create a database and then actually how to host an application to get it actually running on the server, as opposed to just having the HTML file, clicking it twice, and then having it show my screen. MAP actually got me comfortable working on basically the front end, the back end, and the database of the application, as opposed to working with JavaScript. What JavaScript did was it prepared me better for mobile development. Because when I was building the mobile apps first, it was just basically the front end. I had no idea how to make my application functional. But when I started building things with JavaScript, and I purchased, first I purchased courses, and then eventually I got a book. And then understanding how HTML, CSS, and JavaScript all work together, that made it a lot easier for me to get into the web development, and which is what I'm going to get into now. So because I went from HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I went straight to React Native. React Native, I actually created a video on this. React Native has something called a view component. The view component works exactly like a div. So it's easy for me to go from the web to mobile, because basically you're using the same skills that you use on the website in constructing a mobile app. So it was easy for me to actually understand what was going on. If you're working with Swift, or you're working with building an application in Android just natively, then most of the things are class-based or just functional-based. It's just a little bit different how things are actually done with React Native. So this just made things a lot easier when working with React Native. Now, also one of the biggest things when you work for the mobile compared to the web is that on the web, because it's so known and there's so much support for it, there's so much more competition as a web developer. Like I want to say, your ability to negotiate stuff, you're not going to have that much flexibility because they can easily replace you as a web developer. There's not too many people who can build a mobile application. And also, let's not forget that mobile development is still fairly new. I don't think it's been around for 10 years. So the tech is always evolving, it's always changing. And a lot of people don't like that constant change because they're lazy. They don't want to learn a new tool, they want to learn new skills. So the biggest pro to actually working as a mobile developer is that it's like promise that you can find a job pretty fast. Even if you have an interview and it doesn't go well, you'll have another interview just like that. So that was the biggest pro for me as well, which is why I strongly recommend that. And React Native is like the hottest mobile development tool out there right now. Obviously, you can't go wrong building an app. You can't go wrong building an app specifically with Swift or directly with Android. I feel like having those skills are ultimately that's ultimately the way that you want to do it. But as a developer, most of these companies, especially these middle to small level companies, they're going to want an app built for both Android and iOS, and then they're going to want to save money by using a tool that can do that at one time, which is what React Native does. So that's what makes React Native so much of it's like a promised place where you can go if you want to make some good money or get easy employment. Now, another cool thing about the mobile, at least in my opinion, is that mobile, we see a lot of these things that you can do with the mobile app. We recently just got face recognition, I want to say like 2 years ago. And then we got this 5G coming out now. And you'd have no idea how that's going to improve our mobile applications. So this is basically, mobile apps are the future. And what we're doing with these phones right now is kind of like, this is just like the tip of the iceberg right now, So there's no doubt in my mind that this mobile atmosphere, how we do things and whatnot, this world is going to continue to grow. So in my opinion, you can go either way with mobile or web. They're both going to be around. But web, keep this in mind, web has tools like, WordPress. A lot of these companies, they can just get a WordPress developer, or they can just build the application themselves with less money and a short amount of time. With mobile, there's nothing like that, so it just creates an opportunity for employment, and then also gives you the opportunity to just learn about a lot of different cool things. So that's my spiel on the web and mobile. Hopefully it provided some kind of value, and thank you guys for being here. Like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on social media if you like. Anyways, peace.